Good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear us fine, and welcome to our available webinar. Today we are diving into something big, like future of charging big. And as the EV markets grow over time, so is the charging infrastructure. But just throwing more chargers at the problem isn't cutting it anymore. It's about making them smarter, faster, and most importantly, reliable. That's where available steps in. We've got a stacked agenda for you today. We are talking about everything from market trends and industry challenges to the cutting edge that's reshaping how CPOs, charge point operators, are doing business. And yeah, there's something special at the end, so stick around. For today, we're going to be your hosts, two guys who've been living and breathing e-mobility for over a decade. We know the challenges, the opportunities, and why this is the right moment to get serious about optimizing charging operations. So buckle up. Whether you're a CPO trying to outpace the competition, an investor looking to see where the real growth is, or just someone obsessed with making EV charging seamless, this webinar's got something for you. First, a bit housekeeping. You can always ask questions in the chat. The chat is muted so that we only focus, let's say, on the webinar itself, and we will display your questions and answer them in the end of the meeting. Your audio is also muted as we have a quite big number of participants, and the content will be made available to you guys right after the meeting. So what do we have on the menu? First, market overview and industry trends. What's changing in 2025 and why it matters. Second, key challenges and opportunities for CPOs, from scaling up to improving reliability and cutting costs. Third, technology and commercial impact, how AI and smart data are reshaping charging operations. And finally, in the end, the Q&A session where you can have the chance to ask us mostly anything. Good, let's get started. First with the art of operations. But not to be impolite, let's first introduce ourselves so that you know who we are and why we are doing what we do. As I'm already talking, my name is Jens. I started in mobility around 10 years ago at a Stuttgart-based OEM that's also known for being the inventor of the car itself. And as for all inventors, I know struggles of fighting for a new technology very well, not only for mass adoption, but also in private. Like convincing my wife that driving an EV is simple and fun, and that charging is not such a pain as everybody in the press is about to telling us.
And I'm Alex. I've spent almost 15 years in e-mobility taking care of many first-time solutions like roaming, corporate charging, or delivery fleets. And today I'm taking care of sales at Available. And my personal story is being stranded in summer when it was 35 degrees on an island in France at one of two DC chargers on that island, both not working, although indicated in the app as fully functional.
So before we start, we first want to get some input from you guys. And that's why you should right now see a short questionnaire around on your screens. We have two quick questions. First, how many times have you had issues getting a successful charging session in the last 3 months? Please vote now for are we talking often, rarely, or almost never? And you can also directly answer the second question, which is what's been your most frustrating charging experience from the last 3 months? Hit us with some words on your worst case scenario. We will give you a bit of time to answer that.
And maybe think of your last drive along the highway or maybe in the city. So how often is it? And it doesn't care. We don't care if it is the app or maybe the charger or something else. Just maybe give us a feedback how often you are annoyed of that situation that we are taking care of every day. And maybe a story while you answer that, that I got in the basement today, also driving to the garage to my charger. And I was looking forward to a nice empty spot. And I was parking in, getting that spot already when I saw that on the display of the charger, it had a red cross and it meant it was not working. So it's a daily and real struggle that we have all, I think.
Very true, very true. Even in the most, actually, what feels to be the most secure scenarios, also their chargers might break. Good. I see that we have around 50% of people having voted. So let's give it maybe 10 more seconds, guys. Don't forget to hit the send button. So maybe your answers are already in, but you haven't sent them. Yeah, now you're speeding up. That's amazing. Thank you very much. Wow, that is progress. Very good. And I think we should be fine right now. So let's take a look at the results. And what we can see is that there has been quite a bunch of you guys having not often, but still medium or rarely occasions. And I think that actually 1 or 2 out of 30 sessions, that's quite a lot still. So that's really, really a pain. And we will definitely share the results of your most frustrating charting experiences right after. We cannot display your answers right now, but it's for us super interesting to share them right after. Good. So over to you, Alex. Let's jump on what we have right now.
All right, let's set the stage. Before we dive into the specifics, let's take a high-level look at what's happening in the charging ecosystem right now, because 2025 is shaping up to be a massive turning point. The markets are expanding quickly, and more charge points, new use cases, and a whole lot of competition. But with this growth comes a set of new challenges and opportunities. So in the next few sections, we'll break it all down. What's changing in the market? What are the key pain points for the CPOs? And most importantly, how technology and data are about to change the game. Let's get into it. So main question for today is, what is different in 2025? And first and foremost, we see more infrastructure. For years, we as a industry were waiting that we have a sufficient expansion in Europe. And as it seems, almost every country in Europe is getting more and more chargers. One region which came to our attention in 2024 was the UK. We saw a rise of 38%, which is a lot. And Germany, on the other side, had less growth. However, the basis was so strong that we had a massive of 154K charging points here. And we could name a lot of other regions where in this year, the expansion is in full swing. So in despite of some newspaper articles, already today, there is a respectful number of chargers on the road, a status we only dreamed about some years ago. Well, in summary, we see in Europe, we did a great job. Yeah, many chargers are great, but what are the side effects? And to pinpoint what we mean, we love to take the quote of a superhero. And he said, I think it was like this: with great networks comes great responsibility. And it's funny because it's true. As a CPO, we have multiple responsibilities. For getting this clear, let's structure and the sheer numbers we saw into some more insights. Now let's dive into this one, where we see that 2025 isn't just another year. It's the year of increasing competition in the EV charging space. And look at these numbers. Charging infrastructure in Europe is exploding. While EV registrations in 24 didn't grow that much, the number of charging points, especially DC, has surged exponentially. In simple words, more stations per EV lead to more choice for EV drivers. So the ratio gets worse in the perspective of the CPO. And this nice little map on the right shows that some regions have already quite high density of chargers, especially if you look into Nordics and Netherlands. This means operators are now facing a market where there's a flood of new chargers, driving the need for smart operations, better maintenance, and more efficient cost management. In other words, it's not enough to just add more chargers. The challenge is to ensure the assets deliver reliable, fast, and seamless experience for EV drivers in an increasingly crowded market. With the competition heating up, every CPO must focus on optimizing their network to stand out and meet the growing demand. And as a CPO, you must now make sure you have the customer on your side. You are the favorite choice. But it's not only being the best in the field, which we see today. It is more behind the corner. And 2025 is also the year of new use cases. I think by now everyone is aware that fleets, especially commercial fleets, will shift and shifting towards driving electric. And this will bring even more demand for professional and reliable solutions. And let's have a look at the magnitude of this movement. We think things get even more exciting as we tackle heavy-duty charging. This isn't just an incremental change. This is a major shift. And between 2030 and 35, the landscape is set to transform dramatically. We are expecting not only a substantial increase in the number of charge points, but also a significant boost in profit potential. This means the profit pool for public HPC and MCS charging is exploding from 500 million to 1.8 billion euros. With heavy-duty charging ramping up, operators who prepare now by integrating scalable, high-capacity solutions will be the ones who thrive in this competitive market. Because in the end, a not working charger for a B2C customer is not good. A not working charger for a truck company translates into a serious business risk. On this slide, we see two key challenges that are reshaping the industry. First off, the UK. Rapid charging points, those delivering 50 kilowatt or above, are now required to hit a 99% reliability rate. And it's not just a target, it's a mandate to ensure nearly flawless service for every EV driver. Recent research from industry analysts confirms that these standards are driving operators to level up their game with advanced predictive maintenance and real-time monitoring systems, ensuring that every charger is as dependable as it can be. Second, there's a big shift in data ownership. That's thanks to EU Data Act. Device owners now have greater control over the data their charging stations generate. And what does it mean for a CPO? It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you have to adapt your systems to comply with these open data rules, ensuring transparency and privacy. On the other hand, this opens up an entirely new possibilities by leveraging data analytics to optimize operations and customer experiences, also with solutions like Available. In essence, these regulatory and policy changes aren't just hurdles, they are catalysts for innovation. For CPOs, embracing these changes means not only meeting stringent standards, but also unlocking opportunities to stand out in a rapidly evolving market. It's about turning compliance into competitive edge. Bottom line, with the EU Data Act, you have the right to get all your raw data, also from your CPMS. All right, let's talk about the role of data in 2025. In today's EV charging landscape, data isn't just a bonus. It's the oxygen that keeps your entire charging operations alive. On this slide, we see that data is the backbone of every decision you make, from selecting sites over predicting maintenance and optimizing energy usage to fine-tuning your overall customer experience. Think about it. By harnessing real-time data from each charging session, you can identify patterns that help you pinpoint potential failures before they happen, adjust pricing dynamically based on demand, and even improve the network's reliability by learning which sites need proactive maintenance. We see that CPOs leveraging advanced analytics and AI-driven tools can reduce downtimes by up to 20% and boost overall efficiency. And in 2025, the smart use case of data transforms raw numbers into actionable insights, turning every kilowatt hour into a strategic asset. For CPOs, that means not only keeping the chargers running at peak performance, but also carving out the competitive edge in increasingly crowded market conditions. Our recommendation, build your data strategy now. Sort your data sources, make sure the data access is secured and you know how to utilize all the data. Good, and let's now zoom out for a second. At the end of the day, the entire ecosystem, the tech, the operations, the strategy, it's all about serving two core groups, EV drivers and investors. That's it. They're the heartbeat of the business. One side demands a smooth, reliable, frustration-free charging experience, and the other, return on investment, performance, and scalability. And if we fail either one, the whole system takes a hit. Growth isn't just more chargers. It's about better delivery, smarter execution, and building trust on both ends. And until now, you may think, yes, these are all things we saw and heard before, but what does this mean in concrete numbers? What are the key challenges for CPOs reflected in exact figures? Let's talk about the three big pillars of CPOs need to juggle: cost management, reliability, and scalability. Think of it like a tripod. If you take one leg out, the whole thing tips over. Reliability is the bare minimum. Nobody wants fail sessions. Cost management, that's survival. And scalability, that's the future. You can't afford to just be good in one area. The best players are balancing all three. And here's a statistic that should grab your attention. Our industry's operating costs currently consume between 35 and 42% of revenue. That's a substantial chunk, and it underscores the importance of effective cost management. High operating expenses can hinder our ability to invest in innovation, infrastructure, and talent. To mitigate this, we need to adopt strategies that streamline operations, such as automation of routine tasks, predictive maintenance, to prevent costly downtimes, and data-driven decision-making to optimize resource allocation. By doing so, we can improve our operation margins and ensure that a large portion of revenue is directed towards initiatives that propel us forward. Let's drill down into the operational costs associated with high-power charging infrastructure. Industry benchmarks indicate that the annual OPEX of HPC stations is substantial, often exceeding initial business case assumptions. Factors contributing to these costs include reactive and planned maintenance, energy procurement, software licensing, and customer support. And this is very important. The business case is the business case. The reality is different. Therefore, we would recommend every CPO to check regularly on targets and set adapted ones for every year. Not every cost category can be influenced easily, but some are addressable. And don't forget, if ratios are not met today, it will not get better when you scale the network. But it's not only OPEX overall. Let's go to more details. Human resources are critical components of our operational framework, especially when we talk about scaling and getting better at costs at the same time. Data indicates that operational teams constitute a significant portion of ChargePoint operators. Workforce, often ranging from 15 to 30%, external service providers are not even taken into account here. While a robust operations team is essential for maintaining service quality, it's also a major expense. And to leverage the effectiveness of your workforce, we should explore the integration of advanced technologies, such as AI-driven monitoring systems that can automate routine tasks and flag issues before they escalate. This is not only reducing the workload on our human operators, but it also allows them to focus on more strategic initiatives, thereby improving overall productivity and job satisfaction. Next, let's speak about reliability. So, what are the drivers thinking out there? Reliability is the bedrock of user trust in our services. However, current user trends reveal that users frequently encounter issues such as failed charging sessions, slower than expected charging speeds, and problems ending a session. These challenges not only frustrate customers, but also avoid potential EV adopters, hindering the broader goal of substantial and sustainable transport. Interesting to see that also individuals who are already very into that topic have issue more often than we expect. For us too, this is always frustrating. A charging at first attempt without any issues is not possible that often and far too often.
All right, here's where things start to get interesting. We have analyzed availability data from the last 1.5 years. On paper, the numbers look pretty solid. 96% uptime across Europe sounds great, right? But the devil's in the details. Not all uptime is created equally, and that 96% average masks a lot of variation across the board. We've got some top-tier operators consistently delivering near 99%, which is impressive. don't get me wrong. But there are others still struggling to cross even 93%. And that's not a rounding error, that's a major operational gap. And here's the thing. When you're building a network, consistency matters just as much as peak performance. A user doesn't care if you have 99% uptime at most sites if the one they pull into happens to be part of that underperforming percent. That single bad experience, that's what they remember. And that's what they talk about. So we listened to some celebrities to find out what the topic is really about. You might know these two, and with this picture, I guess we can do some real talk. Everyone loves quoting that magic 99% availability number. It's clean, it's impressive, it looks great on a slide deck. But here's the uncomfortable truth. 99% availability doesn't mean 99% success for your users. Because the experience on the ground just tells a different story. Charging session failures, charging taking too long, issues with connectors, payment systems not working. These are usually not reflected in that uptime metric. So the question is, are we measuring what really matters? A system can be online, but if it's not delivering a successful session when a user plugs in, are we really doing our job? Let's think about it this way. When a user walks up to a charger, they don't care about how many milliseconds your server was live or online for this month. They only care about whether they can plug in, charge fast, and get on with their day. That's it. So yes, let's celebrate 99% uptime, but let's also be brutally honest with ourselves and our teams. Charging success rate is the real KPI. If we are not hitting that mark, we are leaving value on the table, both for the customer and for our business. Here's where the rubber hits the road. We've talked about uptime, but now we are looking at what really matters: successful, regular charging sessions. And the data is pretty clear. Even some of the best performing CPOs, the ones being close to perfect uptime, like 99% and above, are only hitting about 88% on session success. That means roughly 1 in 8 charging sessions is not a smooth experience. Let's be very real. That's not good enough. Imagine if 1 in 8 flights didn't take off on time, or if 1 in 8 ATMs failed to dispense cash. This wouldn't fly in any other industry, and it shouldn't fly here in ours. And this is where the opportunity is. The gap between uptime and successful usage is a goldmine for optimization. If you can close that gap, even by a few percentage points, you're unlocking massive value, more revenue, better customer loyalty, fewer complaints, and more repeat users. And let's not forget, these sessions are what drive investors' confidence. When they see high availability but low usage success, they're not going to be impressed. So we need to start talking not just about uptime, but session quality, success rate, and user satisfaction. That's the real benchmark of operational maturity in 2025. Scalability is the name of the game, but scaling a broken system just scales the pain. As networks grow, we are not just seeing more charges, we're seeing more data, more edge cases, and more failure types. And these failures, they are not all the same. We are dealing with 3 core failure dimensions: hardware, software, and user experience-driven breakdowns. And as your networks grow, the frequency of these failures scale up exponentially. Now add this to the mix. Manual pattern detection, that's over. It simply doesn't scale. If you've got hundreds of millions of data points across your fleet, logs, error codes, sessions, telemetry, there's no ops team in the world fast enough to sift through that in real time. If you're still using spreadsheets or static dashboards to troubleshoot failure patterns, you're already behind. You need machine learning. You need real-time diagnostics. You need systems that learn what failures look like before they hit the user. This slide might hit hard because it's all about the long-term game. Look, if you want to win in this space, you've got to get your business cases airtight early on. Scalability isn't just about rolling out more chargers. It's about ensuring your operational model doesn't break under pressure. Why? Because every year, your network becomes more complex. More charge points, more data, more service requests. And if you're stacking that on a fragile foundation, things will crack fast. Your cost per charging session has to go down as your network scales. That means smarter processes, smarter automation, better tooling, and leaner operational headcount. If your OPEX curve grows at the same rate as your network, you are not well prepared for scaling. The best CPOs aren't waiting for scale to become a problem. They are anticipating it, modeling it, and solving for it right now, before it hits them like a brick wall. So here's the million-euro question. How do you scale while reducing operational expenditure? Let's start with what you can actually control. Reactive maintenance. One of the most overlooked money pits in this business. Predictive maintenance, based on pattern recognition, can cut those costs. You need to catch issues before they cause downtime, and then you avoid the issue chain. In other words, reducing OPEX isn't just about cutting costs. It's about investing in smarter, leaner, and faster systems. Think of it like switching from a gas guzzler to an electric sports car. It's less noise, more torque, and better control. So let's take a moment to look in the mirror. What does a typical day in charger operations actually look like? So running charging stations, how hard can it actually be? Well, reality most often looks a bit more like this. And maybe some of you feel what this picture is really about. So how does this day actually look like? If we start in the morning, it starts with coffee, then a flood of incident tickets, and somewhere between spreadsheet tabs and Slack messages, the real work begins. The ops team is often stuck in firefighting mode. We start the chargers, check for firmware bugs, try to find a pattern manually in logs that look like they were written by a cryptic robot. It's repetitive, reactive, and exhausting. Same team, same tools, but more infrastructure every few months. No one has time for proactive work. Root cause analysis, manual and often too late. Troubleshooting time, basically non-existent. And the irony is, these are some of the smartest, most capable people in the industry, stuck in workflows that feel like they are from the 2010s. That's not scalable. That's also not sustainable. If we want to make a dent in this industry, we need to upgrade not just our tools, but our entire approach. This slide breaks it down. Time to detect and time to fix. Two of the most critical metrics in operations. But here's also the ugly truth. Right now, these timelines are way too long. Let's say an issue starts at the station. Connector isn't responding, payment fails, or the session doesn't start. The best case scenario, it gets flagged by the backend within hours. Worst case, it's days before anyone even notices. And then the fixing journey begins. Call centers, first line support, second line analysis, third party field service. You're easily looking at 1 to 9 working days before any resolution. Now think about the revenue lost during that time. Really think about it. Think about the customer frustration. Think about the reputational hit. These aren't just operational costs. They are business risks. Okay, let's discuss the fallback strategy most companies turn to. Just hire more people. More ops equals more capacity, right? On the surface, sure. But that's not a strategy. That's a band-aid. And let's not forget the onboarding cost, training complexity, process overhead. It snowballs fast. The bigger your ops team gets, the harder it is to manage workflows, maintain standards, and actually innovate. Scaling people in line with infrastructure, that's a pre-AI strategy. Okay, so if we say not more people, maybe the answer is more external partners, right? Field service contracts, maintenance providers, call center outsourcing. Sounds logical, but also pretty expensive. Look at the cost breakdown on this slide. Some CPOs are paying 7,200 euros annually per 300 kilowatt charger just in OPEX. And let's be real, a lot of this is tied to external service costs. Plant maintenance, reactive maintenance, on-site interventions, they add up fast. Here's the thing though, external services are a tool, not a strategy. You can't outsource your way out of inefficiency. If you're relying on third parties to solve systematic problems in your operations model, you are bleeding money without solving root causes. By now, it should be obvious. The system is showing cracks. And no amount of headcount, Excel dashboards, or third-party contracts is going to fix that long term. It's time for a new era of operations. Think of your operations like your smartphone. You don't keep fixing a broken app. You updated it, redesign it, optimize it for performance. That's what CPOs need, a next-gen ops stack. One that's data first, AI-powered and future-ready. Where detection is instant, detections are automated like decisions, and teams can finally stop firefighting and start optimizing. Because this industry isn't slowing down. And if you don't upgrade your ops now, you'll be stuck in a maintenance loop while others leap ahead. And here's the logical conclusion. It's not just the people, it's the tools. If your operations are running on legacy dashboards, on manual reports and static KPIs, you're still relying on shovels instead of excavators. And most importantly, you need tools that don't just report problems, they need to prevent them. That's the kind of upgrade that transforms your ops team from a cost center to a value driver. Now, let's flip the script. Let's see how we can solve this in our industry. And I think this quote shows it pretty well. It's easy to get overwhelmed while finding the solution. When you look at the complexity of a modern CPO operations tech stack, the cost, the reliability pressures, it can feel like the deck is stacked against you. But here's the good news. Every great transformation in tech history started with that exact same feeling. The key is to shift the mindset from reactive management to strategic enablement. Let's take it step by step.
Good. Let's talk action plan, because all the tech in the world means nothing without execution. So how do we take this from theory to impact? Step one, get your data house in order. If you don't know where your pain points are coming from, you're always going to be guessing. Clean data, structured pipelines, meaningful KPIs, that's your foundation. Step two, layer in AI-driven operations. By this, we mean predictive diagnostics, anomaly detection, automated alerts, self-healing systems. This is what makes your ops lean and proactive instead of slow and reactive. Step three, revisit your business case. What's your real failure management cost? What's your true OPEX trajectory if you scale? Step four, we will also show how all of this can work with any given hardware to be agnostic. Small steps, right? But together, we build a system that runs smarter, performs better, and scales like a machine. Let's start with the first principle. See what you have at hand. You can't optimize what you can't see. And in charging operations, data is your oxygen. It powers everyday decisions, every KPI, every insight. But here's the kicker. Most operators don't even have full visibility. They've got fragmented logs, legacy protocols, inconsistent access controls. And then they wonder why ops feels like flying blind. Plus, make sure that you have real data access beyond a dashboard access of your CPMS. This is also why OSPP broker solutions are such a common thing nowadays from companies like FlexiCharge. This is the foundation. Get your data streams handled. Make sure you're capturing everything from error codes to energy flows to session metadata. Because if you're not starting with a clean, usable dataset, everything downstream is just noise. And the EU Data Act is supporting all of this. All right, hot take, BI dashboards alone won't save your operations. Don't get me wrong, Power BI, Tableau, whatever you're using, they're great for historical reporting. But they're mostly not real-time, they're not predictive, and they're definitely not fix your charges. These static dashboards don't do root cause analysis. They don't recognize behavioral patterns across sites. They can't triage alert based on urgency or context. And they definitely don't automate fixes. What they gave you is a snapshot in the rear view mirror. But what you really need is a front-facing radar system. Sometimes that tells you not just what happened, but what's about to happen, including interpretation. So yeah, dashboards are step one. But if you stop there, you're leaving 90% of your potential on the table. AI is where things really get interesting because this isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's your next operations engineer. Think of AI as a data on steroids. It doesn't just process logs, it understands them. It finds patterns across thousands of sessions that no human could ever detect. It learns from past events to improve future decisions. And in charging operations, AI isn't a nice to have anymore, it's a competitive edge. The leaders in the industry are already using it to predict site failures, optimize dispatch, automate ticketing, and detect anomalies before they impact users. And the cool part, it keeps getting better. Every session, every error code, every power fluctuation, the AI system learns. That's compounding intelligence baked right into your infrastructure. In charging operations, AI excels at three things. First, pattern recognition, not just statistical outliers, but contextual signals. Things like session drop-offs that correlate with locations, payment methods, charger firmware, or even time of day. Second, automation. AI can drive decision-making at scale, from analyzing incident alerts to recommending the next maintenance task to predicting which site needs a firmware rollback. Third, optimizing. AI can adapt your ops strategy based on real-world outcomes. And this is why Available has been founded. You know how every pro athlete has that one supplement they swear by, something that gives them an edge, that boosts performance, that keeps them sharp under pressure. That's what Available is for your charging operations. It's not just another analytics tool. It's the operational upgrade for your team. With Available, you are monitoring tens of thousands of charging points. You're not just watching, you're learning, predicting, acting, and automating. You're identifying trends before they become problems. You're cutting downtime, reducing OPEX, and unlocking serious performance gains. Available is not replacing your CPMS, it complements it. Let's talk product, because this is where theory becomes action. Available brings 4 specialized products to the table. These aren't generic dashboards or glorified reports. These are focused tools designed to solve specific pain points. For CPOs, the focus is on uptime, reliability, and cost control. You need tools that can help your ops team to move from reactiveness to proactive control. For manufacturers, it's about visibility and performance diagnostics at scale, seeing how your equipment is performing out in the wild and fixing what needs fixing before customers start complaining. And for CPMS providers, it's about integration and insight, connecting systems, standardizing event data, and unlocking smarter decisions from real-time data streams to upgrade the product. Think of them like smart layers on top of your current stack, amplifying what you already have in place. What can we achieve? This one speaks volumes. The numbers here are not minor optimizations, they are big. On the cost side, monitoring time can be reduced by 90%, data compilation time down by 80%, root cause analysis time cut in half, reporting massively accelerated. We are not talking about marginal gains here. We're talking about full-on performance upgrades. However, these are all individuals per respective CPOs. And on the revenue side, more successful sessions, better availability, and better transparency. That's the kind of impact we all want to see. Look, we all have the same endgame: shrink, time to detect, and time to fix. Every CPO is trying to get better at this, but the difference is in how you approach it. You need a system that spots a problem, understands in its context, prioritizes it automatically, and helps you fix it before your customer even knows it happens. Available's toolkit hits those pressure points: faster detection, quicker insights, automated recommendations. The result? Skipping in many cases the hotline process, and less firefighting and more uptime and a better experience for everyone, from your ops team to your CFO. And this slide is important because if you ever underestimated what a single percentage point of availability is worth, here's the math. Take a network of 500 DC chargers, 400 kilowatt hours per day per station, 30 cents margin per kilowatt hour. That's 21.9 million in annual gross margin at 80% success rate. Boost that success to 85%. Now you're at over 23 million. You just made 1.3 million more without building a single new site. And that's the power of operational excellence. Not marketing, not site expansion, just better availability. All right, let's talk real-world results. Because theory is nice, but what matters is what happens when the rubber hits the road. Available customers are seeing measurable impact in just a couple of months. We are talking improved availability, reduced downtime, faster problem resolution, and better visibility across their entire network. On the left, you see the average across all customers we have on the platform. On the right, two selected CPOs who did a pretty good job with the available technology in the first couple of months. The feedback is consistent. We didn't realize how much time we were wasting until we saw what a smart system can do. And that's the beauty of this kind of operational upgrade. Now let's talk about integration, because let's be honest, no one wants another tool that's a pain to implement. Good news, Available was built in this exact challenge in mind. There are multiple plug-and-play paths to get started. Option 1, simply forward data from your chargepoint management system, raw OCP data, and master data. Option 2, hook into a broker or data lake setup. That's ideal if you're already got a more complex data architecture and just need an intelligence layer on top. No need for a rip and replace. No disruption for your business. It slots right in, does its job quietly in the background, and lets your ops team work better. And that's the magic. Powerful tech that adapts to your ecosystem, not the other way around. And you may ask yourself, does this work for my different hardware suppliers I have in the portfolio? This right here is one of the most powerful parts of the Available engine. It already is trained and tested across a wide range of manufacturers and charger models. Whether you're running Alpitronic, ABB, Siemens, Zaptec, Delta, Compleo, Alphen, it's all covered. And we have even more in the pipeline. That means fewer integration headaches, less customization, and better pattern recognition from day one. Think about what that means operationally. You're not building a knowledge base from scratch. Available already knows what failure on a charger looks like or what abnormal sessions behavior one has. The system comes preloaded with context and is adding more stations and knowledge day by day. So your ops team can skip the learning curve and start seeing results faster.
And there we are, full circle. Let's recap what we've just walked through today. We talked about the state of the CPO industry, the challenges around cost, reliability, and scalability. We looked at the gap between uptime and real success rate. We dove into the operational realities most CPOs face today and the opportunities that lie in transforming those systems. We also explored what a modern ops stack looks like, driven by data, powered by AI, and structured for scale. And most importantly, we saw how Available isn't just a tool set. It's an entire philosophy of smarter operations. This is about more than just keeping chargers online. It's about building a business that's ready for where this industry is going, not just where it's been. Thank you very much, first of all, and time for your questions. We will just check in the questions board where we are right now. And if you haven't done so, please feel free to add your question right now.
And you have always the possibility to raise questions individually, because I think your situation is quite unique in your CPO or business setup, and you can always reach out to us. And maybe what is also our special offer to you, if you like. what we do is we can tell you what the experience of our business is, of the CPO business of others, but maybe you would like to challenge this. And therefore, we always start with a small pilot. And that gives you the opportunity to have a side-by-side comparison of your performance today and the performance in the future. And that is, I think, very, very important.
We got our questions in, so at least the first one. Feel free to also ask more. Let's show that kind of question. I will just read it out loud. Is there a charge success rate where you, Alexander, see a ceiling currently in the industry, even for best performers?
So we can also maybe talk about out of our data pool, because that is where we really have hard KPIs. And the best performing operators on our platform, they have a success rate of 96 to 97%. I think that is really good. And they are still spontaneous events. You can't predict everything. You can't solve everything. But 96, 97 is a thing that when you're getting there, you're really, really good. Then you can be proud of yourself.
Definitely. Are there additional questions that you guys would like to raise? We got the next one in. I will also read that one out loud. Give me just a second to show that. It is, could you please elaborate on what kind of metrics you examine in your alert systems? And also, how do you define a successful charging session? I guess I would just start with the second part, the successful charging session itself. So for us, a successful charging session is a session that lasts longer than 1 minute and is more than 1 kilowatt hour. Why do we take that metric? Because usually those sessions are the ones that are afterwards not going to break anymore. They might entail the very long-lasting ones, like over 24 hours, but actually this misuse is happen very rarely, and to be honest, in most cases, they still believe in. So let's talk about the metrics that we have for our alert system. Alex?
Yes, the metrics. So in our solution, we use different analytics models. So we have different, let's say, glasses that look on different behaviors. We have a model that is looking on error codes, which is like a catalog, a self-learning catalog, and knows in which constellation, in which kind of frequencies some of the errors make a very critical state. We have things like a machine learning algorithm who is observing every single connector in the behavior, how charging curves, how the distribution of power is. So maybe also to point the light on connectivity, that is another analytics model. So we stack those layers of analytics models which look on specific behavioral patterns, and then we sum this up to see if this is in the end making a critical state, maybe a critical state in the future in the next couple of days, and that is something that is then adding up.
Good. Next question. Also, in the meantime, in case we didn't answer your question fully, just shoot again the next question to detail that even more, or come back to us right after. We are also happy to talk individually with you. But next question, that's a definition one. Basically, how does available system calculate uptime? And I think, to be very honest, it might seem easy, but I know that every CPO is discussing that question. Shall we give ours?
Yeah, let's do that. And I mentioned our analytics models, and that analytics models come to a, let's say, traffic light status, where we have, okay, it needs monitoring, it is near to failure or failure. And failure doesn't mean that the charge is offline. Failure sometimes means it is online, but charging is not possible. And we take our 3 okay-ish states, that is for us available. But when it's clearly down, but maybe down in the sense of we see that no successful charging is possible anymore, that is for us the thing that we then calculate minus the 100%.
Yeah. And what this also means in consequence is the following. It means that usually our number look more pessimistic than yours in the CPMS. But this is also the point where we are way more realistic. And this allows us in the end to provide you with a better service and more steering on what you do. Here comes the next question. It is, what kind of interface is required between available and the CPO operator system for data exchange? So is OSPP protocol enough?
Yeah, it is enough. And actually, we have some data partnerships, we call it. We have data partnerships with CPMS providers where we have standardized APIs. And in easy words, we just get forwarded the raw OSPP data stream. So you don't have to change anything between the charger and the CPMS. The data just flows to our system through the CPMS. We get an exchange for the master data, so you know where the chargers are located. And we have some, let's say, APIs, which are also common for sending smart restarts and so on. So it's quite easy. And we are quite individually then relying on different, let's say, communication channels. It may be AWS, it may be something else, but we are also flexible on taking the API that your CPMS has.
Now a question, going from data stream to resolution. What active solution suggestions can you provide to a CPO with in case of an alert or faulty starter, other than a restart? So what can we do other than restart? First of all, a number of stuff can be fixed by restarts, and we don't just recommend them, we perform them automatically. So whenever the system knows that there is an issue that can either be completely fixed or cured, so it means that the charging is still possible for a longer time, the system performs automatic restarts and takes care that the restarts have been also carried out successfully, and if not, it tries again. So our restarts are a bit smarter than just telling you press the button, it presses it automatically and follows up on it. What else can we do? There is two things. First of all, we do ticket automation. So whenever we think the ticket needs to be written, we push the ticket towards the operator so that they can check if they want to pursue it. And we also do real recommendations. There is something down the pipeline which we call incidents. And in that case, we don't only provide a description of the error that is there and of the, let's say, complete event series, but we also give recommendations on clearly what to do in order to get it fixed. So it's way more than just restarts. Alex?
Maybe a practical example for that. What is the recommendation? We saw on some kind of chargers that the charging cable, a DC charger, it had a CCS cable, which were not performing well. We saw drops in the charging. We saw connector lock issues and so on and so forth. And there we see from that pattern, we can recommend, okay, drive on site, control the cable, maybe take a cable with you to exchange. And that can be either firmware-wise or hardware-wise recommendations. And that is out of our experience with all the operators, with our testing lab, that we can derive from a connecting the dots situation to a recommendation.
We have another question. We experience, or you guys, in this case, Markus, you're experiencing error codes are not handled in the same way across different hardware. How do we as Available handle different hardware manufacturers? And that's an amazing question. That's actually also a bit where we started.
Yeah, so we learned from every hardware manufacturer, from every model, from every firmware that is on that respective charger, what the errors mean. It is all linked in our database, so that we also not only have the data, I don't know, error code 4711 means that, but also how they stick together and also the severity level, what that means. Because we have chargers, they are reporting errors all day long, but it doesn't mean a lot. For us, we have a indicator which says in a very, very easy to understand traffic light logic, is that now something that you have an error you need to take care of, or can you ignore, although the hardware is pushing errors all day long? Because we have also CPOs where I've been 2 weeks ago, and they said, when I'm opening my mailbox in the morning, I have 30 or 50 mails reporting error issues, but in the most cases, I don't have to take care, or I lose time reading all these error messages. And that is where we are better with our analytics model.
Yeah, that's very true. Good. Next question, and that's a perfect follow-up question. So Simon, you have fully understood how our system works, because your question is very interesting. Webinar content. First of all, thanks for the kudos. But the question is, how do you onboard new entrants charging equipment? This differs based on if it's charging hardware that we already have on the system or if it's new hardware. If it's hardware that we have on the system, it's actually pretty simple. We just connect with the OSPP stream and with, let's say, the data points Alex just mentioned in order to get the technical connection in. And then we start your system running. We don't need to do any kind of commissioning again. We just accept the charger, there's data once it comes in. And once it's there, our systems already start working on it. Some of the AI models need a bit of training because they are individual per connector. Others work from day one as we already know the hardware. So this is very simple. We can be onboard very fast. For infrastructure or chargers that we don't have on the system yet, we are super happy to onboard them. This means that if we get a new charging device, we need a bit of a critical mass. So just one charger wouldn't do the job because a lot of our onboarding is also in that case done based on machine learning and based on AI. So this means that we have a critical mass of new chargers run in the system. They will not be visible from day one for you guys, but for us and for the system itself. And then we learn how does that charger behave. We learn exactly what Alex just described in terms of which kind of error codes are how important. And based off that, it takes us about 4 to 6 weeks to get a new hardware model completely onboarded on the system. And then for you also being able to use it.
Maybe also practical example we had in the last couple of months. So in Europe, I think we are well equipped with our 60 plus charger models that are trained on the AI. But a couple of months ago, we had a new customer who has also chargers in the US. And there are different manufacturers, different models, and we need a critical mass of at least 75 chargers who are also used quite frequently. So we get plenty of data to get trained what the character of the charger is.
Good. We got 3 minutes left. So if there are questions open that you want to push here out in the public space, feel free to push them right now in the chat. And if not, then I think the only thing that we can say is thank you very, very much for taking the time to spend this webinar. There is one. Okay, it's a feedback. Thank you very much for the great feedback. Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for your participation. Thanks for those very profound questions. It shows that we have lots of professionals here right on this call. And we wish you a very nice afternoon. You will get the slides or the content itself afterwards. And whenever you have any other question that you would like to post to us, hit us up. We're looking forward to talking to you again. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.